right, so we've got something really interesting to dig into today.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, seriously interesting.
Hmm.
It's this proposal for a whole new European football league.
Oh, wow.
They're calling it the Unify League.
Okay.
And get this, it's aiming to go head-to-head with the Champions League.
Whoa. Okay, that's a big one.
Right. It's like something out of a movie, you know?
Yeah, like David versus Goliath kind of thing.
Exactly. But like this time, David's got some serious backing.
So who's behind it?
It's this group called A22 Sports Management.
Oh, A22, right? They've tried to shake things up before, haven't they?
Yeah, they were the ones behind that whole European Super League thing back in 2021.
Yeah, that's right.
Remember that?
Yeah, it kind of well, it imploded.
It did, yeah,
Yeah.
spectacularly. So what makes them think they can pull this off now?
Well, there's been a big legal development.
Oh, yeah.
Remember how UEFA basically shut down the Super League idea?
Yeah, I vaguely remember something about threats and bans.
Yeah, they were basically saying, we're the only game in town, you know?
Right, UEFA's got all the power.
But then late last year, the Court of Justice of the European Union,
Oh, the CJEU?
yeah, the CJEU, they ruled that UEFA can't just shut down rival leagues like that.
What?
Yeah, they said UEFA's monopoly on these pan-European competitions. It's
Right.
actually illegal.
So A22 is basically saying, see, we told you so.
Exactly. They're like, we can have a competitor league and it's totally legal.
Clever.
But here's the even more clever part.
Mhm.
A22 isn't just saying, we told you so.
Okay.
They're framing this Unify League as like a solution
A solution to what?
to all the problems people have been complaining about in football for years.
Okay, like what specifically?
For starters, ticket prices, they're insane, right?
Yeah, for the big matches, it's crazy.
Then there's the whole broadcasting situation.
Mhm.
It's so outdated compared to how we watch stuff like Netflix.
Yeah, true.
And then you've got women's football. It deserves a way bigger platform.
And then the Champions League itself, it's getting kind of stale.
Stale.
Yeah, predictable, they say.
Interesting. So they're playing the we're here to save football card.
Yeah. Are they, though? That's what we're trying to figure out.
As we go through these documents.
All right, let's dive in. What are they actually proposing?
Okay, so they're talking about a 96 club league.
96?
Yeah, split into 4 tiers. They're calling them Star Gold, Blue, and Union.
Tiers, okay.
And the way teams qualify for these tiers is all based on their domestic leagues.
So no more guaranteed spots for the big names.
Nope. It's all about what you earn on the pitch.
I like that.
Right.
So, like, hypothetically, could we see a team like Leicester City,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
the ones who won the Premier League a few years back?
Yeah.
Could they qualify for the top tier, even if they're not always a top 4 team?
Absolutely. That's the whole point.
Wow, okay.
Any club, theoretically, could have a shot at European glory.
That would make things way more interesting.
Right.
And they've got plans for women's football too, right?
Yeah. The Women's League would have 32 teams, 2 tiers, same qualification system.
Okay, so also based on merit.
Yeah. But here's the potentially massive part.
Hmm.
All the Unify League matches men's and women's.
Okay.
They'd be streamed for free globally on their own platform.
Free.
Yeah. No subscription fees, no cable packages.
Anyone anywhere can just watch.
That's the idea.
Wow, that could be huge.
Especially for fans who don't have easy access to European football now.
But they're going to need some serious money to pull this off.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's just one hurdle.
Right.
But let's break down how this league would actually work.
Okay.
So 96 clubs on the men's side. Each tier has a league stage
Yeah.
where teams compete in groups. Then it goes into a knockout stage.
Quarterfinals, semifinals, the final.
Yeah, sounds familiar.
Kind of like the Champions League format.
But this whole qualification thing, how does that actually work in practice?
Yeah, they keep saying sporting merit. But what does that actually mean for specific clubs?
So they give some examples in these documents, best case and worst case scenarios. Like if you look at a country like England or Spain, you know.
Top-ranked countries in UEFA's system.
Right.
And just to clarify for our listener, the UEFA coefficient. It's basically a ranking system based on how well a country's clubs have performed in European competitions over the past few years.
Exactly.
Okay.
So a country like England, at the top of that ranking, they could have up to 10 teams in the Unify League.
Yeah.
If their clubs do well in the qualification playoffs.
Okay.
But even a country ranked much lower, like 55th out of the 55 UEFA national associations,
Wow.
they could still have 1 team in the league.
If they qualify?
It's really open to anyone.
That's a huge change from how things work now.
Yeah, no more automatic bids for the big names just because of their history.
It's all about what you do on the field.
This is getting really interesting.
It is.
It really changes the game, doesn't it?
Yeah, totally right. I bet the clubs in those smaller countries are loving this idea.
Oh, yeah. A chance to compete on a bigger stage, maybe bring in some more money.
Right. It could be huge for them.
They're trying to pitch this as a win-win for everyone.
More exciting matches for fans, more opportunities for clubs, more money flowing into the sport.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about the money, because this free streaming thing, it sounds great for fans, but how are they going to make money from it?
Well, they're talking about a mix of things. Advertising partnerships, maybe some premium content like behind-the-scenes stuff for a subscription fee.
So like a freemium model?
Yeah, you get the basic access for free, but you can pay for extras if you want.
Makes sense. But they're going up against some pretty big players in the streaming world, right?
Oh, yeah. Netflix, Amazon. Those guys have deep pockets.
That's going to be tough.
Yeah, they're going to have to convince advertisers and sponsors that this is worth investing in.
Right. And the platform itself, it's got to be good.
It's got to be as good as what people are used to.
Another thing I'm wondering about is the impact on domestic leagues.
Ah.
Adding even more matches to an already packed schedule.
Right, player burnout is a real issue.
But A22 is saying that the Unify League would actually involve fewer match days than the current Champions League.
They've got a whole calendar in here showing how it would work.
So they're not just adding more games on top of everything else?
No, they're actually proposing a more compact schedule.
Okay. How so?
All the Unify League matches would be played midweek.
Midweek? Okay.
Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, no weekend clashes with domestic leagues.
They're basically slotting it into the existing midweek slots.
Exactly. And they say this more focused schedule with fewer overall match days, it would actually benefit players.
Less risk of burnout.
More time to rest and recover.
Okay, I see their point. But let's be real here. The success of this whole thing hinges on one big question.
What's that?
Will the top clubs actually join?
That's the million-euro question, isn't it?
Because let's be honest, without those big-name clubs, the ones with the global fan bases and the star players, this league just doesn't have the same appeal.
Right, and those clubs are already making a ton of money from the Champions League.
Yeah, they're going to need some serious convincing.
A22 is playing the long game here.
How so?
They're arguing that the Unify League offers clubs more control.
Okay.
Remember, under the current UEFA system, clubs don't have a lot of say.
Right.
A22 is promising that clubs in the Unify League would have a much bigger voice.
Okay, so more power for the clubs.
Exactly. Plus, there's the potential for higher revenues.
Especially once this free streaming platform takes off?
Right. And they're also highlighting that CJEU ruling. It's really weakened UEFA's position.
Yeah, before UEFA could just threaten to ban clubs that joined a rival competition.
No, not so much.
So it's like they're saying, look, clubs, you've got options now.
Yeah, you don't have to put up with UEFA's rules anymore.
Bold strategy. Will it work, though?
It's hard to say. There are a lot of moving parts.
Like what?
We need to consider the fans. How will they react?
Yeah, will they embrace this new league?
Or will they stick with the Champions League?
Right. Football fans can be pretty loyal.
Yeah. A22 is trying to walk a fine line here. They're acknowledging UEFA's contributions, but also saying it's time for a new era.
Respect the past, but build the future.
It's a classic disruptors message.
And whether they succeed or not, this whole situation has really exposed some cracks in European football.
Yeah, the fact that A22 has gotten this far, it's a sign that things are changing.
Feels like we're witnessing a power shift.
The outcome is far from certain.
It's like a sports movie, but in real life.
Totally, and we're right in the middle of the action.
Trying to figure out who the good guys and bad guys are.
Or if there even are any good guys and bad guys.
Right. It's not that simple. Everyone's got their own motivations.
There's a lot at stake.
Speaking of which, there's another thing we need to talk about, the solidarity payments.
Oh, right, yeah.
They mention that in these documents. Remind me what that's all about.
So basically, A22 is proposing that a chunk of the revenue from the Unify League would go to clubs that aren't even part of the competition.
To be clear, these solidarity payments are about sharing the wealth, right?
Exactly, not just keeping it for the elite clubs.
So it's like a way to address concerns that this new league would just make the gap between the haves and have-nots even bigger.
Right, it makes them seem more altruistic.
Yeah, less like they're just in it for the money.
But it also makes sense from a business standpoint.
How so?
If they want to build a sustainable league, they need the whole football ecosystem to be healthy.
Right. Strong grassroots football leads to more talent development.
which ultimately benefits everyone.
So it's a win-win, at least in theory.
But we gotta be skeptical, right?
Of course.
This is the same group that tried to launch that Super League a few years ago.
Which didn't exactly go over well.
We can't just take their word for it.
We need to look at the evidence and consider all the consequences.
Exactly.
And that's what we're doing here on the Deep Dive.
Digging into these documents, looking for the truth.
It's been quite a ride so far.
I'm with you on that.
This Unify League proposal, it's a fascinating case study.
In how sports, business, and politics all come together.
And it raises so many questions about the future of European football.
Like, what happens if the top clubs do decide to join?
Yeah, what happens to the Champions League, to the domestic leagues, to the fans?
The ripple effects could be huge.
It's like we're on the verge of a seismic shift in the whole landscape of European football. I mean, it's crazy to think one court ruling could, change everything.
Yeah, it's huge. Basically, the CJEU said UEFA can't just use its power to,
Shut down competition.
Yeah, protect its own interests. They got to play fair.
So this is bigger than just the Unify League, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
This ruling could open the door for all sorts of new leagues.
Totally. Imagine leagues for specific audiences.
Like what?
I don't know, maybe like a league for just young players.
Oh, interesting.
Or maybe even some crazy new ideas about how the game is played.
That's kind of exciting.
Right. It's like a whole new era of experimentation.
It puts UEFA in a tough spot.
They're used to being in control.
Now they have to adapt.
Do you think they'll try to fight this, or will they try to work with these new leagues?
That's the question. Right. They could get really defensive.
Try to find loopholes?
Maybe even try to punish clubs that join these rival leagues.
But that could backfire.
Totally, if they come across as too aggressive.
They could alienate clubs and fans.
Maybe this is a chance for them to, become more transparent.
More accountable to clubs and fans.
Yeah, I think that's the best way forward.
They need to show they're listening, that they're willing to change.
Okay, so let's bring this back to you, the listener.
Yeah, what do you think about all this?
Is the Unify League a good idea? A bad idea?
What would you change about European football?
We've given you a lot to think about today.
But ultimately, it's up to each of you to decide what you believe.
That's what we try to do here on the Deep Dive.
Give you the information, the different perspectives.
So you can form your own opinions.
This conversation is just getting started.
The future of European football is uncertain.
It's going to be really interesting to see what happens.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Unify League.
It's been a wild ride.
We're excited to see what happens next.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning,
and keep the conversation going.